Okay, so welcome to the next part of our tuning guide. Before you get to starting your engine or whatever, I would suggest you do some checks. So I'm gonna plug in my ECU, which is in my car. So you should have that in your car already. And then we want to look at our sensors. We want to look at everything, if everything is calibrated correctly, because that is basically what you want before you start the engine. What you would also want to do is you check the trigger angle. I'm going to link a video on how to do that before you start the engine as well. You can do that while cranking. Before you do that, though, you need to fix the ignition timing at the wherever you have your markings have. And yeah, but I'm explaining that in the video I've linked. And now we are going to basically do our pre-start checks. So things we actually need 100% for startup would be that our throttle position is at 0. If it isn't, you can go to Tools and then Calibrate TPS. And if you are off the throttle, you just go to Get Current, and this is the closed throttle value, Get Current. And if you have a TPS sensor connected, you go full throttle and then full throttle ADC, and again Get Current, and that's what your full throttle value would be. Because I don't have a throttle position sensor connected, doesn't matter for me. What you also want is you want your temperature sensors to be set up correctly at your map sensor. If you have like a plug and play unit, usually that is set up. If you don't, then you need your sensor values, so the resistance values for temperature sensors and the voltage values for your map sensor, for example, or your O2 sensor, because those are analog inputs which use a 5 or 0 to 5 volt voltage to tell you what the actual value is supposed to be. So if you have a external wideband controller, so that's not the internal RUSEFI one, the internal one would already be calibrated correctly, but on the external one you would need to calibrate it under analog O2 sensor, and then you would select, if you have, for example, a known one, then you would select one that's right here. And if you have a RUSEFI with an internal controller, you first need to disable the CAN wideband so that this is actually available right here. So we are gonna we're gonna select the input, or whatever input you have used. This depends on what you need to wire it into an analog input, and in my case I'm just going to use auxiliary 1, and then you can put in your voltages right here. In most cases, in most AFR gauges, these will be listed in the manual. So for example, on an AEM it's 0.5 volts at 8.5 AFR and 4.5 volts at 18.5 AFR. So that is pretty standard, but it can vary between gauges. So please reference your manual to get your correct values. If you, for example, need to power cycle your ECU like I just did, you can either turn off ignition, turn it back on again, and turn off ignition, unplug your USB, plug the USB back on again, and then turn on the ignition. Or what you also can do is you can, wait a second, on bench test you can reboot ECU, and that will do the same thing, and you don't need to unplug anything, etc., and it will do the same thing. You'll just have to unplug the USB again, because Tuner Studio actually doesn't register that it's rebooted. And then we need to set up our temperature sensors, which is pretty easy. Same thing basically, but with resistance values. On coolant temp, you usually have the input channel, which is, because on the ECU there is a predefined pin which you are supposed to use. In this case it's D16 coolant temperature. It's labeled coolant temperature in the pinout, and then you put in your resistance values right here. and you should get those from your either, if you're using an aftermarket sensor, your data sheet. You have some preset sensors right here, like for example the NB Miata, which would be mine. But those are what you should set. In the case of if it's a pre-configured sensor, still check if the temperature is actually correct, because sometimes they can be off a bit, but yeah, so that's really simple. One thing you can do is you can also put in the sensor into a known temperature environment, measure the resistance, then put it in boiling water, which would be 100 degrees, measure the resistance again, and then you would have at least those two values. And you need a third point. You can, for example, put it in a freezer, and if you know the temperature of that, you again have a third point. Next thing is the map sensor. Map sensor is the same as with the AFR sensor, because it's an analog 0 to 5 volt sensor. So this is basically the same calibration method. You have your maximum voltage right here. You have your minimum voltage and at which point they are set at, and then you just you usually have a table of where the voltages are listed, and you just put in those two, and then you should be able to have the correct one. In my case, it's 95 kPa. For some reason it's Celsius here, but so it doesn't really make sense, but it makes sense in the way that the atmospheric pressure where I am right now is about 95 kPa. So that's all good. Just like the others, there are also some predefined map sensors in here. If you want to use one, or if you have one that is listed here, you can try and use that. And yeah, that's pretty easy as well. If you have now set up everything for the sensors, what I would suggest is test everything if it works. So that means check if your fuel pump works. I have it on a switch, so it doesn't really matter. As you can hear, it works. But you should check your injectors and your coils if they are functioning correctly. In my case, I would do that with the bench test, and then you can basically check everything that you want. What I would suggest, if you are testing coils, make sure that the on time is less than your dwell time. So like 2 milliseconds should be fine. And then you can check your outputs right here. So for example, I want to see if what injectors are working, or if all injectors are working. I know I have wired them to the correct input, but you can also check if you have wired them correctly, or which injector is pulsing by what cylinder you are trying to use. This is not the injector number on the pinout, that's actually the cylinder that's supposed to be used. So make sure that you keep that in mind, because otherwise on Speeduino, for example, this is different. This is the outputs from the ECU, but this is the cylinders, because you configure the injectors before you try to test this. So I'm gonna just test it and you will see what I mean. I hope you can hear that. So these are all 4 injectors, they are all working. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna also test the spark. I hope that works. Yeah. What I did for that, so that I can hear it when I'm alone. So to see what I mean, I'm just pulling out the coils like this and basically leaving them like this, so that the spark travels from the coil to the spark plug, and you actually can hear that, because when it's like this, you might be able to hear it when it's really quiet in your shop, but it's pretty quiet, and like I showed you before, like that you can hear it a lot more clearly. On the injector side, if you can't hear them, like for some reason, you can also put your finger on the injector itself and you should feel it vibrate or click, and then you can make sure which one's actually the correct one. So if you are unsure of if you're wired to the correct cylinder, because they might all work correctly, but they might not be set to the correct cylinder. So you check in Tuner Studio and have someone touch the injector and confirm that it's actually the correct one. And what you also want to check is, well, first of all, your battery needs to be charged and your voltage should be displayed correctly, like it is right here, 12.9 volts. What you also want to make sure is that your crank sensor is working, or your crank and cam sensor in general. So in my case, I will just crank the engine over, and then I will see if the map sensor actually works. Not the map sensor, but the RPM gauge. And actually, your map sensor when cranking should go down a bit, because even when cranking, the engine will create some vacuum. Also, what's really important, make sure that when you are cranking, that your battery voltage stays above 10 volts. It's really important to have a relatively strong battery. With a stock issue, you can get away with having a really weak battery, but with a standalone issue, they have bad problems usually when the battery drops below 10 volt. They don't really like that, and the engine oftentimes does not start. So make sure your battery is kind of strong. This is even a very old battery and is very weak, but even though this one's pretty crap, it's even though that's the case, it stays above 10 volts while cranking. So please make sure your battery is up to the task of starting the car properly, especially if we go to the next step where we need to crank the car for a relatively long time. For example, if we want to figure out cold start, etc., then that's important that your battery is strong and that it actually works. So it, like, the car actually starts and you actually get the correct readings and don't have to guess what you are doing and charge the battery in between cranking. That's annoying and costs a lot of time. You can also just get another car to jumpstart, or like to get some jumper cables onto the battery and help the car to make this easier. But honestly, batteries aren't that expensive, so just get a good known good one so you don't have those issues. That's pretty much it for this video. Yeah, as I said, just make sure your sensors are correct, they are working correctly. Any temperature sensors you have wired in, so if I have IAT wired in, for example, that's the same as with the coolant temp sensor, or any pressure sensors, that's going to be the same as with the 0 to 5 volt sensors. So it's easy to check those things, and you can already rule out errors before you, for example, get someone to tune the car. You can find out if, for example, an injector is not working, a coil is not working. That's like the easiest stuff you can check. And if your RPM is correct, that's like the basics you need to watch out for. Anyway, that's it for this video. In the next part, we are actually gonna try and figure out how to start the car for the first time. And yeah, that's it from me. I wish you a nice day and goodbye.